Welcome back to Media 7. We're discussing the state of freelance journalism with Kim Griggs, David Cohen and Deborah Hill-Cohen. Deborah, if we could pick up a little bit on your doubtless interesting conversation with Roger Kerr. Is there more value in quality writing from the publisher's perspective or not?
No. I mean, he made the point that you'll sell as many papers with, the story about a puff piece about Rachel Hunter as you would with a well-researched investigative scoop. So in that sense, there's no why would a publisher want to pay more, and that's just the depressing reality. I mean, you kind of have to...
I cannot believe that Roger Kerr from the Business Roundtable actually thinks that an analytical piece about economic activity in New Zealand is worth... is on equal pegging.
No, I've got the email because I sent him and so I'll show you. But yes, he was saying that in economic terms, it doesn't actually make sense for them to pay more. And so I guess what it is that market isn't sensitive to quality. It's like you can just, it pays the same whether you're a 12-year-old Binty who's just come out of journalism school and you're turning out the same story as someone who's been in the industry for 20 years.
There's not a reputational issue here?
Well, no, there are the people, the Paul Holmeses and so on, who can, charge top dollar. So maybe there are it's sort of two-rung.
Do any freelancers get paid to do proper multiple interview, 2 days at the library type, investigative stories? Does that actually happen, or is this all done by staff now?
Well, there's...
Are you asking in New Zealand or in other jurisdictions?
In New Zealand, I doubt it.
Well, hopefully
Nikki
it should
Hager.
Nikki Hager, maybe. But he would do that first before he's been
And I don't think
commissioned
he's
to do it.
getting rich.
No. What about overseas? Does it, I get the impression that if you're working for a prestigious American magazine, they will give you progress payments. They'll give you several tens of thousands of dollars to do a big story.
Interesting, isn't it, Roger Kerr, that America is the home of Western capitalism, and you take a look there, the quality does seem to percolate up. We all know about American vulgarity. But it is the country of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and other outlets. And I wonder, by Roger Kerr's argument, if that's what it is, would the Wall Street op-ed pages be as well served with 17-year-old high school contributors as James Taranto and the like?
But the upshot of this is, I get the impression that there are certain kinds of stories that are not only not being done by freelancers, they're not being done at all, because freelancers are often the specialists, aren't they?
Well, I think science is a good example of that, because New Zealand has no daily science correspondent that I know of anywhere in the mainstream media, and any science coverage that's done on a sort of a news value is done by freelancers, but there are very few of us who do that. So that's a whole area that's covered very poorly.
And of course there's one way of filling pages that has a demonstrated readership, and it's very easy to do, and that's the column, in particular the celebrity column. We actually made a list of some of the better known columnists in the Sunday papers alone. It's a long list. There's a lot of interviewing of typewriters there, isn't it? Is it too much?
Well, it is. I mean, and I have to say mea culpa, because that's what I do. It's so much easier to sit at home and write a column than it is to go out and actually talk to people and go and elicit facts. So it works out to just be cheaper to do that. You actually can earn more money, you can write more columns than if you tried to write a news story. And
we've talked to editors from some of the major magazines who've said, well, we can't find freelancers to do these stories, and it seems that there's a reason for that. Because it's not worth doing these stories.
It would be interesting to know which editors and which publications.
Well, I can't tell you that.
They're very quiet on this topic, aren't they? The publishers
it's not that they can't afford it, because there's a very narrow range of money paid to freelancers. But if you look at sort of a full colour 4-page ad, which is a bit of a proxy for income, it ranges from $20,000 for the Herald to something like $7,000 for the Listener, say $3,500, $4,000 for Unlimited. Yet the difference that these outlets, publications, will pay is tiny, and so you can ask for more. They have got the money.
I've got to say though, my overwhelming sense is of compassion and sorrow for the publishers, because right now in New Zealand, publishing is, if not in free fall, then it is in decline. And this is, I see echoes of the music industry here. For so long in the 80s, the music industry had it sweet. They had a way of doing things. They didn't encourage new talent or new ways of doing things or new distribution modes. Now they're in free fall. And I think the traditional media there's a similar trend going on.
That decline if they invested in good quality journalism.
That's what I mean. If they had specialist writers, contributors, if they stopped these pages of, you know...
But, I mean, you've talked about the internet. What do you think of the prospects for cutting out the middleman? We've seen quite a few journalists do this in the States. You know, they become pro-bloggers, take their own advertising and keep the money. Is it going to go that way, or do journalists really not want to do that?
I just worry about the quality control issues with that. You know, it's interesting that, you know, the small paragraph stories have kind of gone by the wayside on the internet because there's no limitation on how long you can make something. And I don't think that actually creates very good writing. We were talking about sub-editors before. You know, we still need them. And so in that sense, I think the kind of quality journalism we're talking about isn't necessarily going to turn up just on the internet. Because there's more columns and more people interviewing their typewriters.
Yeah, but you're using this word column, Deborah, as if column is like bad writing or not so good journalism. But, I mean, isn't it just as hard to do a good column as
yeah, I think, but then again, I think it's easy to do a mediocre column. So, in that sense, it's cheap and easy, and you see a lot of that kind of writing where you haven't had to go and that hasn't involved a lot of research or whatever.
Well, I hope we've pricked some consciences, but I'm actually not all that hopeful.